Aloha kako, Kuli again, and I'll do a quick summary on the paper I did on the U.S. military occupation of Pohakuloa training area, or PTA. For any of you who are unfamiliar with PTA, it is a 132,000 acre plus military facility in the Salo region of Hawaii Island between Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa. This is run by the U.S. Army Garrison, but all branches of the military use this facility for training. It's considered the premier live fire training installation in the Pacific, and is the largest U.S. installation in the Pacific. And we even invite allied nations to come in practice here. Twice a year we have RIMPAC exercises where we invite other nations to come and bomb Hawaii Island. And now, in my paper, I looked over political background. I'll just touch on that real quickly here. Since our annexation to the U.S. in 1898, Hawaii has been used as a strategic military area. When we were annexed to the U.S. in 1898, the U.S. was involved in the Spanish-American War, and Hawaii was seen as a strategic area to combat Spanish forces in Guam and the Philippines. Now, another big part of the political background that I looked at was the land tenure. So the majority of the 132,000 acres that Pohakuloa sits on are ceded lands. Now these lands are crown and government lands that was owned by the Kingdom of Hawaii and transferred to the U.S. government. This term ceded is disputed because there was never a cession or a relinquishment of the title of these lands to the U.S. And all these lands became state ceded lands when Hawaii became a state in 1959. So what I really wanted to look at in my paper was how Pohakuloa affects the natural resources of our island and affects our resource security. And the three natural resources I looked at was water, air, and soil. Now, there's been some really cool information that's been coming out about the groundwater resources in the Salo region. Since 2012, UH has been doing exploratory drilling in the Salo region and has found that we have groundwater resources as high as 4,500 feet above sea level, much higher than was previously thought. And previous studies have shown that there is Mauna Kea water as deep as 10,000 feet below sea level. So there's like this big mountain of water directly below PTA. And it's kind of speculative, but I'm kind of interested in how management is going to change in PTA now that we know that they sit right above this groundwater resource, as the communities of this island and of Hawaii in general realize the importance of this resource. If that would change the way that PTA is allowed to conduct themselves, if we're going to start requiring them to be more vigilant, to look at possible contaminants and look at their actions and see if there's any possibility of them contaminating this resource, because it's a lot shallower than was previously thought. I also looked at the air quality and how Pohakuloa affects air quality on the island of Hawaii. In 2007, after years of denying the use of depleted uranium, the military finally admitted to using depleted uranium at Pohakuloa. Now they were supposed to have an independent study done, but they ended up doing their own study, and they said that the amount of that the DU amounts at Pohakuloa were safe. And so, a little bit of background on the depleted uranium. They had this Davy Crockett weapon, which shot these slugs of uranium metal, and which would explode on impact, and they would dissolve. A portion of this metal would actually dissolve into the air, and this was a small nuclear weapon, but it was considered a nuclear weapon that was being tested in Hawaii without approval. And what happens when it gets aerosol, when it dissolves into the air, is a great inhalation hazard. It emits alpha, beta, and gamma particles, and if it's in your body, it has a very long half-life. If it's lodged in anywhere in your body, it would outlive you, and it would continue to emit radiation until you die. And the effects are not 100% known. You know what DU does, but it is radiation, and it is a nuclear weapon. So that's one way that that actions at Pohakuloa jeopardize our air resources on this island. Now, besides having depleted uranium in our soils have also been greatly eroded. Pohakuloa, they're getting better at managing the animals up there, but for a long time, there's goats and sheep in high numbers. They're just denuding the landscape and exposing the soil to wind and water erosion. There's also a lot of rare plants in the area, more than 20 species of rare and endangered plants, which have, because of not managing the ungulates and because of ignition sources of live fire training, there's fires, and we lost a lot of habitat, lost a lot of native species, had invasive grasses like fountain grass come in and really change the ecosystems and lose a lot of our soil resources. So what I kind of looked at was, Pohakuloa is used for national, and is considered vital to national security. But I looked at that in contrast to our natural resource security. We say we need Pohakuloa. It sounds like we're going to die without this military, this national security. But in reality, the types of things that we truly need to survive, clean air, clean water, and clean soil to grow our food, Pohakuloa jeopardizes all three of these resources. And for an island like Hawaii, a lot of things could happen where we could be cut off from our global. We've become reliant on our global economy, but in the event that we were cut off for some reason, we would need these resources to survive. And in my paper, I looked at how the different ways that Pohakuloa's actions jeopardize our resource security. Now, in closing, I think it's cool. In the last couple of months, it seems that a lot of these ceded land issues are coming up again, and the Hawaiian population is becoming more vocal, more empowered. We're realizing that we have a voice and a say in how our land and natural resources are managed. And I think PTA is going to be a cool case study to watch, to see how these social political movements play out. Mahalo, and we'll see what happens. Aloha.